Hello and welcome to Sacred Sexuality Healing. Today I have my beautiful friend Marina with me, and we're going to have a conversation about women, relationships. I felt a calling to do that because there are so many blind spots and dark areas that we don't know about relationships, and Marina has a lot of experience in that area, in the sense of connecting with the divine feminine and connecting with the feminine energy and the vibration and the rising. And I felt like it's so important to bring that in, to bring that kind of soul calling to the divine, to the feminine. And we'll just have an organic conversation. And Marina, she's a pleasure activist and space holder and a beautiful Qoya teacher. So I'll let her shed some more light on that. Go on.
Thank you. So thank you for having me. I am like you said, a space holder and a pleasure activist, because I facilitate experiences for people where you can be who you are, where you don't have to wear a mask, drop the conditioning. And especially in Qoya, for example, we say, come as you are and leave more of who you are. And I also facilitate meditation, new moon and full moon women's circles, or Hungarian style sauna experiences where you're just experiencing the air flowing through the space and just giving your body an incredible, beautiful experience. And all of these experiences bring you inward, and we call it remembering back to you. That's why I created this website called compassionatecompass.net, because this is what I offer to people, mostly women. And Qoya is a beautiful embodiment practice where we know that the body is wise, wild and free, and that's our essence.
So I'll put the social handles and the website of Marina. Either it's going to be on the screen, but definitely it's going to be in the description box below, so you guys can contact Marina immediately and directly if you're interested in learning more. So me and Marina, we always have these conversations about what do women need to know about men. What are the stuff that we think we know, but they kind of turn out to be not necessarily true. So let's explore that together. If we kind of want to narrow it down to maybe 3, 4 or 5 points, what do you think women need to know? Especially, I'm talking about conscious dating. I'm talking about women who are conscious. They are in a certain kind of level of consciousness, and they are looking for a match, a vibrational match, if you will.
Well, I feel like this question needs to be turned back to ourselves, because the way that we women treat ourselves is what's going to be mirrored in any relationship. So if I am taking exquisite care of my needs, or my emotional or physical needs, I feel like, for example, for me, I've always struggled with my body image. I had issues about growing up with obesity and never accepting my own body. And for a long time, I feel that kind of put me into this box of well, I'm not going to be liked anyway, right? So why would I even bother, looking at anyone? And I realized that if I just start loving myself, loving my own body, and being grateful for who I am, things shift. And they really did shift. And I felt oh my gosh, if I'm just so in love with this shape that I'm in, then people are looking at me differently on the street. I walk down and everybody's oh wow, who's this beautiful woman? And because I feel beautiful, right? There's the song in what's the West Side Story, where the girl sings, I feel pretty, oh so pretty and witty. And so if you feel pretty, you are pretty, right? You just radiate that beauty all the way around. And so it all starts with it's an inside job. You accept yourself, and then you get that attraction from everybody else around you. So that's the first point.
Wow, that is so beautiful, because we all struggle with body image. We all struggle with that. Somehow it's kind of ingrained in our DNA as women that we don't feel beautiful enough or attractive enough. And I think that this is part of the conditioning of the media and putting women in a certain kind of shape or color or frame, and we always compare ourselves. If we don't look that way, then we're not beautiful enough or not worthy enough. So I remember that once you told me something really profound, that you told me men are more forgiving than we think. Can you talk about this a bit more?
I read that in a book, and it was like such an eye-opener for me, because I thought, well, what does that mean? And again, I would come back to that, to the self-acceptance, because we think that if someone criticizes us or says, oh, you're too much or too little or too fat, or your hair is too short, whatever, then it's just like rejection, and it puts us down all the way. And of course, we all have those experiences. But at the same time, it's not like the men that we meet are looking for the model that they see on the big screen, right, or on the billboards. And the question is always, if you don't like yourself, how do you expect other people to like you, right? So it always comes back to that. And for me, the biggest experience that I had was I was in Bulgaria, and for the first time in my life I went to a nudist beach, and it was really scary at the age of 50, right, going to expose myself fully, and it was the most freeing experience I've ever had, because I actually realized that, but just by looking around the beach, right, that nobody had a perfect body there, right? Everybody was who they were, and it was like, if you feel comfortable in whatever shape you're in, no one can touch you, no one can put you down, because it doesn't depend on any outside factor. It depends on how you feel inside.
Yes. Yeah. No, this is beautiful. So what else, Marina? What else do you think?
The other thing that I also learned about is, which was for me a difficult journey, is about self-pleasuring and self-cultivation, because I was a devout Catholic for a long time, and I always felt that it was sinful to do that. Mm-hmm. And now I realize that by this journey of exploring my own body, I realized that I can actually get in touch with what I need and what I like and what I don't like. So it's important for ourselves and also for our partners, because men want to please the woman, right? They do want to see you enjoy yourself. And so if you don't know what you enjoy, and if you're not sure of that, you're basically just kind of putting them in charge, and at that point it becomes dependent on their skillfulness or how much in touch with their own body or their own sexuality they're in relationship with. So don't be afraid. For example, I learned, don't be afraid if your partner is not completely versed in women's sexuality. So don't be afraid to give them homework and say, well, learn about the clitoris, or learn about the G-spot. Why not? There's so much information out there, and just hey, how about that? And just have the conversations completely openly. So yeah, language barrier is an issue, but if you don't have a language barrier, then have these open conversations about it.
Well, I also tend to think that we have the woman's body is all the woman's body is a huge erogenous zone. You just need to explore and just don't have a destination in mind. Just think of it as a map, or like you're blind in a braille land, you know.
Yeah.
You just touch and see and explore, and you guys explore together. And I think of a man's body as the same. No man is identical, you know. There are so many sensitive parts in a man's body he's not aware of. And I think it's very liberating to just go and explore like children, you know. Just be curious about each other. You don't have to go specifically for the genitals or the breast or, you know, this or that. No, just go and explore and play and have your own secret zones, have your own special zones that this is actually builds bonding, because you do have something special that you both explored together. So so I think people are also, if you're watching a lot of porn, you kind of feel like you have to do this, and if you don't do this, then you're a failure.
Yeah, now that brings me to my third point that I've experienced with men, and especially younger males here. I don't know. It's the undernourishment, because that's what I like to call it, because it's so readily available and it's like junk food, right? You don't know what real food tastes like if you're constantly consuming junk food and think that that's the real thing. And so with guys like who consume a lot of porn, they feel like they have to have this agenda of like, okay, it needs to look a certain way, it needs to go according to a certain plan and schedule.
Exactly.
And instead of allowing their own bodies to guide the experience, they stay too much in their head. And I feel that ruins the experience. It becomes kind of awkward, and like unrealistic expectations come up in their heads. Like, for example, they keep mentioning, you know, group sex, and the weirdest story. Let me tell you this one story. This man said, you know, well, for some reason we got talking about lesbians, and he goes, oh yes, I would love to have sex with lesbians. And I thought to myself, dude, you're totally mistaken, right? Because the fact that they are lesbians, that they really don't want to have sex with you. And he was like, what? Is that real? I'm like, yeah, because of course in the pornography, it's what happens, right? It's like
threesomes, and you see
two lesbians making out in front of a guy, which is like, well, that can happen in films, but it really, you know, who wants to have an onlooker at that point, right? So this is what I mean about undernourished, and I feel like it's our job as women to guide these guys, because they will find out that actually the real thing is much better, much juicier, isn't it? So,
I think this also brings us back to the fact that women don't have intimacy, which is intimacy time with themselves. Women need to sit with themselves and really figure out what they really want, not what they have to do to please a man. And the root cause of this is fear of rejection. Like, we feel like if we don't do this, we're gonna be left out.
Yeah, that's a big one, rejection. And I think it's kind of like, I feel like the fear of rejection, I heard, maybe it was a comedian I heard about it, is that, you know, guys don't have a fear of rejection because they just, you know, they just get up and go and find somebody else, right? But women want to bond, they want to have a family, right?
Oxytocin.
So we have a fear of a tremendous fear of rejection, and it led me in a partnership where I was like rejected a couple of times, and I totally backed off and said, in this case, you know, I'm not even going to initiate anything, which ruined the whole relationship. It ruined because it put too much of a burden on my partner, saying, you know, he's the one who has to always decide, which is not fair to him at this point. So expectations can be like the biggest hindrance of us, you know, like in our minds expecting the other one or ourselves to behave a certain way to feel good. If we're looking for someone to be our hero or our rescuer or our complete us in a way that we don't feel whole, that will also put unrealistic and unmeetable expectations on the other person, so it's bound to fail, the relationship, right? It's really important to know that, because no human can be everything for us, right? No other human can fulfill all our needs and meet all our desires. We're just bound to be disappointed in that case. So the thing is that what I heard one time Joe Dispenza say, are you the person you would like to be dating? So are you showing up as your best self in the relationship? And if you turn it around this way, then you can let go of those expectations. For example, like I had this one issue where, I had to wait for someone for a long time, and in my normal, like my old self, like I would have been furious, because I'm punctual, and I'm like, okay, I will like tell him off, and it's like, what do you mean 2 hours late? This is like, and no message, nothing. And at the same time I realized, well, if this relationship is important to me, I'm gonna wait and see what happens, and I just let go, and I started doing my own thing. I was like, and then when he arrived, I wasn't furious. I wasn't like, why didn't you tell me what was going on? I was just happy to see him, and we were like nothing happened, right? Mm-hmm. And those 2 hours didn't go to waste. I didn't waste my energy like being angry or just like draining myself with getting myself worked up about it. I just started doing something else, and the time just flew by, and then we were like super happy when we saw each other.
I want to go back to what you said about like putting too much expectations on the partner. Here we're talking about polarity, which is energy polarity. This is applicable to the feminine or the masculine if you are in a same-sex relationship. We're talking here about polarity, so this is applicable on for everyone. So what do you I want you to explain more about the fact, like when you're starting a relationship and all these expectations that if this person did not behave in a certain way, or this, like you feel kind of coil down like a snake, and you feel like you're completely shut off by the behavior or something like that. I want you to explore more on that.
So that topic, I think, brings us back to the triggers, and I feel that all our triggers are like, it's never about the other person. It's never about the current situation. The triggers are taking us back to way back when. Could be a childhood experience, could be a past life experience. It could be something that we don't even know what it was. For example, let me tell you this one story. One time I was, we were with my partner. He was cooking, and he was just heating up some leftovers or something. And at that point, we weren't in like really like a good way, but at the same time we were pretty civil with each other. But anyway, he was just making this food, and I said, well, oh, that smells so good, can I have some of that food as well? And he's like, well, there's actually not enough for the two of us. He just responded in that way, and that threw me off, and I just started crying and crying. I'm like, how can you be so rude and not share your food with me? And I realized afterwards that it wasn't about this particular case. It was like a childhood experience when it was a punishment for me not to be included in the family dinner if I did something bad. Mm-hmm. And so it threw me back to those days. Yeah. And so the reaction that I had, like overreacted the whole scene, was that. And it was so good, because after I cried and I was able to share it with him, he understood, and it was like, oh, okay, it's not about me. So it took that like real conflict, like the edge of the whole sword, it was gone, because it really wasn't about that. So it's never about the other person, is it? It's all about our perception.
Yeah, and I think that when we go into a relationship, also we kind of have our guard up because we are scared to be vulnerable. And I think that is why we put all these lists, like he has to do this or she has to do this, and if she didn't do this, or that means this. I think it's all about not the event but the interpretation of the event that puts a lot of weighing on the things. So if we just take things as they are rather than putting a lot of interpretation, that saves us a lot of drama.
Yes, please, no drama. That's the whole thing, is coming like back off the expectations and
Yes.
and having a beginner's mindset in the relationship. And I feel like that's the Buddhist way is like the best way.
Yes.
If you offer the relationship, right, it's not about me, it's not about him or her, it's about, you know, meeting each other in the moment.
Yes.
Every moment.
In the moment. Empty yourself
Yes,
out. Empty
exactly.
yourself out. Just live it new, brand new.
And be curious,
Yes.
like where it takes you, and then you could have the most magical experiences because you don't put an agenda on it or like an outcome that you're expecting. You're just like, okay, let's see where this takes me,
Yes.
and it just becomes the most magical
Yes,
event.
that's true.
Yeah.
So Marina, that was lovely,
That was
but do
lovely.
you have anything else to add,
Mhm.
or do you want to, you know?
Well, one of the things that I also would like to really stress is becoming kind of like clear on really like what you're a yes to and what you're a no to. Because I feel for me that was a long journey and I'm still learning. It's a practice. It's not like an easy thing to do because we are conditioned to be people pleasers. We are conditioned to say yes even when we mean no.
No.
And it's so important that for me to be able to practice this, that I feel it's more honest and in touch with myself if I say, okay, I'd rather not do this right now, or let's not go there right now. And even if it causes pain in that moment, it's still, I honor the fact that we can both show up vulnerably enough in the relationship that we can do that. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than being a yes and then it feels like it's shooting yourself in the foot in the long run, right? If you're in it for just to please the other person.
Yeah, I think it kind of builds up a lot of resentment in the process. Yeah. Wow, that was intense.
Yes,
thank you so much.
Thank
that was
you.
lovely.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Again, guys, I will put Marina's social handles in the description box. And this was very nourishing for me, and I hope it's also nourishing for you guys. And namaste.
Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure, honey.